Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Matthew Maley for MatthewMaley.com. It's that time again, weekly movie review time with yours truly. This week, I reviewed a new release, something I saw in Redbox. I actually had remembered seeing a preview for it when I was doing another movie review. One of the DVDs I rented saw a preview for this, and I had wanted to see it. I actually wrote it down on my phone. I have a list of movies to rent, and since there weren't really any new releases that hit that weekend, I decided to go with this one. And it is a decently new release. It was from the end of 2010, if I'm not mistaken, maybe the beginning of 2011. So it's decently recent. But speaking of Hesher, which is starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Rainn Wilson from The Office, which I've never watched the American version, but I've heard he's actually pretty funny. Devin Brochu, plays the little kid in there, and Natalie Portman. Now, I'll say right now, there's going to be three different type of people who have these. These are the three feelings you can have about Hesher. Either you like it because of the funny, crass, out of control humor in it. You dislike it because of the incredibly crass, vulgar, whatever humor in it. Or the people who see a little bit deeper into it. And I don't want to say grasp the whole meaning, because that seems like people who don't see it deeper didn't get the movie. But there's just a deeper element, and I'll go into all of it. So Hesher is a loner, homeless guy, metalhead type of dude who lives in his van, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who I have always liked everything I've seen him in, but I've never seen a whole lot with him in it. A lot of the movies that I wanted to see, I just haven't gotten around to seeing. Mainly, I know him from Inception, and Inception was amazing. I also saw part of The Lookout, which he's in, and he was really good in that. But I'm basing pretty much everything off of Inception, because I loved Inception so damn much. But Hesher is just this crazy guy, honestly. The movie starts with Devin Brochu, his character, and Rainn Wilson live with Rainn Wilson's mother, and they are trying to recover from the apparent death of Rainn Wilson's wife, Devin Brochu's mother. And one thing I will say is it marries very well a combination of sadness, loss, regret, and just utter pain, especially from Rainn Wilson's perspective, who, well, really from both of them. And it kind of breaks down kind of the two options of what you do with pain. Rainn Wilson's character decides to completely numb it, lives by multiple bottles of pills, and spends most of the beginning of the movie passing out on the couch or chair. Where then you have the other aspect, which is by the son's name is TJ, where he's trying to hold on to any last thing that he can of his mother, which just so happens to be the car that you subsequently find out was what they were in when she got killed. They were in a car accident, and he constantly is going back to the wrecker to sit in the car or to try and buy the car or just try to deal with his feelings any way he can. Of course, along the way, there always has to be some douchebag kid who's bullying the hell out of him and really just making his life pretty miserable, when he already is pretty miserable because of the loss of his mother and just not really having anybody to turn to because his father's so zonked out. His grandma is really a very well-to-do, sweet grandma, but in the same sense, doesn't really relate to him, and he's really caught up in his own issues, so he can't really relate to his grandma in a lot of ways. But then, through a chance encounter, TJ meets Hesher. And from the jump, Hesher just starts messing with his life. And Hesher is crazy. Period. Point blank. Crazy. This dude is literally the definition of anything can happen at any time. Completely unpredictable. Everything he does is completely unexpected. And it's just it's humorous to watch. It's really cool to watch just to see what Joseph Gordon-Levitt's going to do next. What Hesher's next move is. Hesher starts essentially just living there. He shows up one day after a series of events, like I said, and just starts living at TJ and Rainn Wilson's house. Well, Grandma's house, actually. Living in the garage. And he's crude, he's vulgar, he walks around constantly without a shirt on, with his middle finger tattoo exposed. He has a tattoo of a middle finger on his back and a tattoo of a stick figure shooting himself in the head on his chest. Constantly swearing, even around TJ. I mean, and not just a constant, a random F word or S word or something like that. You see, I'm editing myself so nobody flags my videos. But I mean, we're talking some in-depth, vulgar, graphic, detailed, sexual, just the type of talk that you would hear around my buddies at a poker table. Except even harder core than that in some regards. Though I really can't say anything because anybody who knows me personally, you know how my mouth is. But anyway, I mean, he is just does not care. He is the essence of Eminem's I Just Don't Give a song, literally. Sitting around their house in his underwear, eating their food. I mean, just everything you can think of a vulgar, crude, lewd, just over-the-top type of guy. This is him. Loves his metal music, smokes a bunch of cigarettes, has long, greasy, nasty, stringy-looking hair, and just overall is just crazy. So, along the line, in a effort to, one of these times when, through a course of events, Hesher screws up TJ's life even more, TJ's getting his ass kicked, Natalie Portman comes and saves him. Well, he starts to kind of have a crush on Natalie Portman, and then Hesher gets involved, and while some of the stuff is somewhat, I don't want to say stereotypical, some of it's you can kind of see coming, some of it is rather predictable, some of it is so out of this world, unpredictable, it's crazy. Through a series of events, I keep saying that, I need to come up with a better phrase, Hesher, Natalie Portman's character, and TJ are all hanging out in a random person's pool, at which point Hesher decides to have a mini freak out, throw everything possible in the backyard into the pool, from lawn furniture to potted plants to a swordfish statue to a bicycle, then proceeds to spray the diving board with lighter fluid, light it on fire. He's got a major obsession with fire, as you'll see. Proceed to jump off of the diving board into the pool, almost, halfway dressed, you could say. Then, out of nowhere, hops out of the pool, bails on him, and leaves Natalie Portman and TJ to fend for themselves. And that is something that you find out about Hesher, is he does not care and will happily screw your plans up, do anything he possibly wants, no matter its effect on anybody else. Now, while you could just end this essentially looking at this guy's crazy, does crazy stuff, cool movie. Or you could say, hated this movie, it was too lewd, it was too crude, whatever. Then you get into the topic of what I really feel they were going more for, is that no matter what, you can do whatever you want. And even if there are consequences, even if there are very negative consequences, at least you did it. And I think that's something that they really did want to go into when you see a lot of the things TJ won't do are based on his fear. He doesn't fight back against the bully because he has that fear, because he's just bottling it up. And whether it's from the desire to not have confrontation, whether it's his, defense mechanisms while still trying to deal with everything happening with his mother, or whatever, he's still holding it inside. When you look at his father, Rainn Wilson's character, who can do nothing but numb himself with pills, cannot get past tries to go to these self-help, to a grief counselor, essentially, Alcoholics Anonymous, but for grief, and refers to everybody else in there as a loser, even though he sits around in his underwear all day popping pills. It's just seeing these characters who are so afraid to do anything, to break free in any way. Even Natalie Portman's character, who's working as a shop girl, who's struggling, and won't take that next step. Hesher comes in and turns everything upside down, flips all of their worlds on their asses. And whether it's from torching a car, to hitting somebody with his van, to teaching a grandma how to smoke out of a bong, to whatever, he still, at the end of the day, is doing something. And what I think was really cool is that while most of the time when you have a movie of, hey, do something with your life, it's from a very safe, vanilla type of backdrop. Whereas this was from the complete opposite. This is from a dark, twisted, messed up backdrop. Yet it still has the same message of you can do it. You can break free. You can take that next step. No matter what the consequences might be. But in the same sense, while you see Hesher doing these things and not seeming to have a care for anybody, for anything, for literally anything more than his metal music and his cigarettes, you also do see part of being around TJ's family and TJ's grandma, TJ's father, that starts to rub off on him in ways where he, at one point, does try to take care of the grandma, does offer to go on a walk with her, does clean up after some dishes get broken, and does want to help. So in a way, it's almost as though he wants to help TJ's character, but doesn't know how to, whereas TJ wants to break free and be more like Hesher, but doesn't know how to. So it was a really cool juxtaposition between all the characters involved with this super acidic, crazy, volatile aspect that was Hesher. So overall, I liked the movie. I gave it 4 stars. It was pretty dark. There was some pretty crazy anger and rage in it. Some from TJ's character, which was very impressive, because a lot of times when you see rage and anger coming out of a younger child, you really don't buy it. It really comes off as forced. And it was not at all. Same thing with Rainn Wilson's character, TJ's father. It never came off as forced. It never came off as pretend. It came off as very well done. This guy is straight zooted out of his mind on pills and is a shell of himself. Their grandma played a great, unassuming, very friendly grandma who in itself has her own issues and needs to have somebody there for her. While she's being the rock for everybody else, really she does need somebody to be her rock, if you will. Then you have Jordan, God, I don't know why I want to call him Jordan, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, who is awesome. Simply put, he played a character perfectly. Because that's the type of character that it was, in a lot of ways, it reminded me a lot of Tyler Durden, of Brad Pitt's portrayal of Tyler Durden from Fight Club, who I thought also did an amazing job with that, and also did the stereotypical, I just don't give a, aspect. And that's a very difficult role to play, because if you play it too comically, which in a way I felt Woody Harrelson did with Natural Born Killers, but that's another subject completely, it comes off as forced. It comes off as comical, almost as more of a cartoon or a parody rather than the actual character. Even though in many ways Hesher's character was a cartoon, a parody, it was so believable. You can also come off as not enough, and then it just seems forced. Seems like you're trying too hard. Where this was, I thought, the perfect mixture of crazy, of not too much but not too little. I really thought he did a great job. So shout out to Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You're a beast. Flat out, I was hooked after Equilibrium. I'm sorry, after Inception, but this took it to another level. So great job. I don't know if it's a movie I'll own, simply because I don't know how much rewatchability it has. I mean, it was well done. It was a great character study. It had a good story arc. It had a good character arc. But overall, I don't really see myself sitting down and saying, hey, I'm going to go watch Hesher today. So I don't know if I'll own it, but I do give it 4 stars. I would have given it 4 stars just based off of Hesher's performance alone. I will say the only down part was Natalie Portman. Yeah, she's beautiful. Yeah, she's a great actress. I personally think she's one of the best actresses of the younger generation. But really, her character didn't have that much depth. All she really was a broken character, which I'm not saying she didn't do a good job, but there are a lot of other people that I think could have been her and in a way added just the same amount. I don't even think that it was her as much as it was just a character in general. I really didn't feel that the character added a whole lot to the story as it was, personally. So that's just my 2 cents on it. So I definitely think that character could have been changed, and I think it still would have been fine. But overall, I definitely like the movie. Definitely recommend it. I would definitely say go rent it, Redbox it, whatever. It's worth a rental fee. And I definitely was impressed. So definitely check it out. Let me know what you guys think. What did you think about the Hesher character? Do you think it was over the top? Do you think it was just too vulgar, too in your face? Do you think his performance was well done? Do you think it was what I'm saying, that it was very much like Tyler Durden in Fight Club? Or do you think it was just crazy over the top and just too much? Let me know. I'm always wanting to hear. So definitely let me know what you think. Send me a response video or just send a comment. Send me a message if you want. But I would love it if you guys could like my videos, leave me a comment, and subscribe if you get a chance. Of course, always like me up on Facebook. Search for Matthew Maley Poker. Follow me on Twitter at Matthew Maley. And as always, MatthewMaley.com. So thanks for checking out my videos. It's Friday night. Back on the couch. Weekly movie review with yours truly. And until my next video, peace out, y'all. Have a good weekend.